maybe take a look at this podcast, okay? It's one that's talking about the election and how they think it's a fraud. Hint, not a fraud.
And welcome to another edition of Occam's Razor.
Also, it's hilarious that this channel calls its podcast Occam's Razor. That's amazing.
As always, I'm your host, RP. And joining me live in the studio, my co-host, M3. Hope everyone's having a lovely day. D Live is still warming up, it looks like.
Trump says we'll have proof of election fraud on Hannity tonight. Ballot corruption will be exposed tonight, Sean Hannity on Fox News. Yeah, when I have evidence of widespread election fraud, I definitely go and take it to a trashy political commentary show on Fox News, and I don't present it to the courts. That makes sense. They're gonna actually
We're gonna blink. We thought it was Spygate. No, it's Fraudgate.
Yeah, I do like the music. I wish they weren't trash.
Relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a very brief word from our sponsor.
They have a sponsor?
You're facing some real challenges right now. There's a lot of unrest and uncertainty, and in some spots get better, but those be the ones who survive. That's why I strongly recommend My Patriot Supply. It's the only source
It's one of these prepper bullshit things. What a grift.
Nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Tweets on a mug social media guys on point. Hold on, let me take a look. Will you shut up, man? Yeah.
Use and trust for my own emergency food preparedness plan. You should do the same. They're the go-to experts in emergency preparedness for weeks of food capacity. Welcome back to the show, everyone. It looks like we finally have DLive and Pilled.net back online. For some reason, they were unable to connect, and everything is acting just a little bit buggy. But I believe we are on the air. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. We've got a lot to talk about. Methods, how's it going, buddy?
It's going all right. Keeping up with everything like all of us are doing, and a day at a time, every 15 minutes or so, we have something that's notable to pay attention to. So I'm head on the swivel. Hope everybody's doing well. Give us a 5x5 in all the chats if we're working all right on the platforms.
All right. Now, somebody in the chat is already asking about how close Arizona is. I think that the only honest answer I can tell you is we have no idea. Even if we have some results for some of these states today, something tells me that...
Are they still doing Arizona? Well, they called Arizona a long time ago on AP. I'm not sure what it is today, actually. Does anyone know they still count in Arizona? Just curious. Doesn't matter at this point. I just want to know.
Final results are going to be drastically different. Because the only thing we really are certain of is that there is massive fraud happening at...
No, there's actually no evidence of that at all.
A variety of locations. Whether it's Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, all of them. And, I mean, truthfully, if we had accurate counts, I'm confident in...
We have accurate counts. We did them. They've been called.
Saying that President Trump would be well in the lead.
If we just threw out all these Democratic votes, then Trump would have won. Yeah, that's how voting works. The person with more votes wins. Weird.
The votes for Joe Biden that we're seeing, I am certain, are fraudulent.
Based on what? Other than your fee-fees, other than your feelings, why do you think that?
Every single one of these places has something in common. You keep getting just bundles of ballots delivered out of nowhere.
They're not delivered out of nowhere. They're the mail-in ballots that the Republican legislature of these states said couldn't be counted until Election Day or after Election Day. They're not being delivered out of nowhere. This is a complete lie. This is a lie.
100,000 here.
The Republican guy tried to make his dead Graham vote. Sure. Hold on, I gotta report this video. Let's see. Spam or misleading? Scams or fraud?
There, 200,000 there, 25,000 here, 85,000 there, and for some reason they all keep ending up being Joe Biden, man.
It's because Donald Trump spent the last year telling his supporters not to vote by mail. Weird how that works. Well, if it isn't the consequences of my own actions. I told all my followers not to vote by mail and that it's a scam, and then when it turned out that mail-in ballots were the deciding factor in this election, they mostly went to Joe Biden. How weird. Isn't it weird how that worked out? It's weird how that logical A to B to C worked. Funny.
Methods, I mean, that's just... That's statistically improbable for that to keep happening, but it does. It just keeps happening. Happening that way.
There's nothing funny
Yeah,
about
go
the
figure.
tools of capitalism.
Craziest.
Dan Rossi Draws, thank you for subscribing with Prime. Can I get thoughts and prayers for my lizard who hurt her hand, probably doing something stupid? That's a shame. Hope they're okay. If any of you guys want to report this video for, false information and shit, there's a link in the chat.
Election ever. But yeah, to me, as far as these numbers, when people ask that, like how close is he in this place or that place, it doesn't matter right now.
Yeah.
Because they're just cheating. The numbers are
No, they're not. They're not cheating.
garbage.
Yeah.
So what's more important that I see right now are what the legal team is doing, the all-stars that Trump's got on his team, whether it be Pam Bondi, Sidney Powell, Rudy Giuliani.
When I think of all-star crack legal teams, I think of geriatric self-fondling man Rudy Giuliani.
Rick Grinnell was out today, a few other people. That's where the fight is right now, is that they're going after the states for how they're handling these things. So as far as these numbers and what you see, it's that right there that was the whole intention of this Red Pill, was they wanted to put out these numbers and give the talking points to the media. Why did they have Biden up on numbers, but they won't call North Carolina? And then now Georgia was fine. We talked about this, about how the numbers were there, that even if every single person that was still registered to vote, and I think it was Fulton County, voted for Biden, Trump would have still won. And now they're just finding more ballots.
They're not finding them. They're counting mail-in ballots that have been in.
Capitalistic propaganda.
The lies, the outright lies from these people is absolutely ridiculous. These people are complicit in an attempted coup. I'm not even exaggerating, guys. This is fucking ridiculous. Thank you, Oculus Vagine. Thanks for following.
Yeah.
So it's all complete bullshit, and that's where we are right now, is the legal battle and the fight. And I'm very interested, and I look forward to talking about this today, on what's really about to happen and what we think is going to happen with this.
Yeah, and we're going to take you through it. We're going to take you all through it. Now, there's something we wanted to address. Methods and I both got asked a question today, so I might as well just get these thank yous out of the way. There's only 4. Nick from yesterday, thank you very much. Heather said, check your email, LibertyLover78. Heather, I did not see an email from LibertyLover78, so I'm not sure if I got it. Oh, Wheezy Girl, she said, hope this helps a little. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. But the one that we need to address, Ken. Ken says, please tell me why POTUS is allowing this. I'm upset. Well,
as it turns out, the president has no power over the elections. The states run the election. Donald Trump, as much as he would like to be, is not a dictator yet. So he has no power here. As much as he might want to whine, he can't do anything.
Let's break it down, okay? Let's go with the simplest explanation here, Ken. Number one, as Method said, these numbers, they're bullshit.
There's
They're not
nothing
bullshit.
funny about the tools of capitalism.
And we're addicted with a long message. So speaking of dead people voting, we have an amazing socialist mocking comedy in Poland. I can't recall the name, but the premise is the Glorious People's Republic of Poland is funding a new community center in a village to celebrate the fact that it has homed the oldest person alive in the country, but it turns out grandma's been dead for years and the family never reported it to keep getting her allotment and pension, so they dress up and obfuscate by direction of local... Oh god, that's only part 1. Jesus Christ.
They're designed for one thing, and that's to demoralize you. It's the same thing with suppression polls, okay? They come out with these polls, they tell you Joe Biden is ahead by 10, 15, 20 points, and the whole idea is that you're going to believe it, and then you're going to stay home and say it's not worth it.
No, it's not. The polls are not intended for any kind of voter suppression. They were just not super accurate.
Not going to go out and vote. Or now that the election has happened, and clearly there were so many people who were voting for Trump, they're hoping that you're going to believe their
tools of capitalism.
Direction of the local government who is trying to hide their incompetence from the party central. It's amazing. Oh, I'm sure it's funny. Thank you for following, new follower.
bullshit that President Trump is losing and that Joe Biden's winning. Because that way, when they bring these fake votes in, and
They're not fake. They're mail-in votes. I'm so sick of these people calling for basically fascism and having people's votes being thrown away because they don't like who they voted for.
already told you 100 times, Joe Biden for this, Joe Biden for that. It'll just cement in your head and you'll believe it to be true. But the reason President Trump isn't doing anything about this is because of our system of government. We do not have a dictatorship. This is not Venezuela.
You guys sure seem to want it to be, but okay.
President Trump can't just walk into your polling location and say, I decree that you stop counting votes right now because...
Yeah, because that would be bad.
It looks bad for me, or because...
No. Not just because it looks bad, because that's literally fascism.
I think that there's fraud. The fact is that
just got some great slow-cooked barbecue chicken. Wish you could have some.
Different agencies who handle a variety of different pieces. This is like a not so well-oiled machine, right? There's a bunch of different pieces. They're all working in tandem together, and some of them are getting ahead of the other ones, and maybe they're throwing some of the other ones out of whack. But in the end, our DOJ is going to have to take action. There will be something that's happening, and court cases brought by the Trump team, that's taking place. We're going to talk.
They're entirely putting the cart before the horse. Before there's even any evidence of any wrongdoing, hint, there is none because there's been no widespread voter fraud, they've decided Trump lost. The only explanation must be that there's some sort of fraud. So they've already decided their conclusion, and now they're going to go hunting for some sort of evidence that will vindicate their already formed belief. This is the opposite of how you're supposed to form your belief systems. This is the opposite of how you're supposed to get your model of reality. These people are fanatics.
About that.
Got another one. Lily loves stuff with 20 bits. My sister's boyfriend got mad at me because he's a Trump supporter, and I asked him if he thought the U.S. were fascists, were good guys, and if the U.S. were the fascists... What? I asked him if he thought the U.S. were the fascists, were the good guys in World War II. When he said no, I asked him why he's supporting fascism now. He turned so red. Ugh, these people.
He's also got his surrogates out there speaking on his behalf. Methods, this is something that I wanted to talk.
Combat tech support. Y'all remember when the conservatives were all making fun of libs for crying about Hillary losing and claiming that Trump stole the election? Here's the thing. Most people were not saying Trump stole the election. That was not the narrative in 2016, guys. People were upset. People were crying for good reason, because Donald Trump's a monster, has been a president who has, in fact, killed hundreds of thousands of people due to his negligence. They were right to cry. But you know what happened? When the results came out, Hillary Clinton, being an adult, conceded. This is not the same situation at all, guys. And anyone who tries to pull some false equivalence on this is just full of shit. It is not the same thing. Time and time again, liberals and leftists are the adults in the room, and people on the right are angry, frustrated man children and women children who are absolutely frustrated with our democratic system because it doesn't let them win all the time. They don't care about democracy. They care about winning. They care about having power. And when they can't get power democratically, they're going to dismantle democracy. Because they don't give a shit. They don't.
Talk to you about. I think this is genius, okay? JR and I were talking yesterday, and he was like, why isn't POTUS out here talking about this? I want to hear him talk. I elected him president. He should be addressing this. Well, Methods, you're old enough to remember what happened in 2000, right? Al Gore, George W. Bush. George W. Bush just said, "Oh, I'm the winner. I'm going to tell I'm your president now. I'm your president now." And Al Gore goes out there and he's speaking like on the Capitol steps. He's doing interviews. He's saying, we want every vote counted, and he looked like a whiny loser. Okay, and they portrayed him.
Biden is a whiny loser. What? The projection from these people is bonkers.
As a bad, sore loser. Somebody who couldn't accept the final results. Even though, it's arguable whether or not those results were final.
Oh, he's talking about the 2000 election.
Or, who had cheated against whom. So, with President Trump not out there speaking about this on a daily basis, not going on television, making public decrees, saying, we don't believe this election count. He's got his kids out there. He's got people like Giuliani, people like Grinnell. They are speaking on his behalf. And it looks like there's a coalition around him, as there is. So he's got a coalition of very intelligent people who are smart enough to see that there is a massive fraud being hoisted upon the American public.
Again, no evidence that anything not above board has happened. Zero. Zilch. None. You know why? Because if there was, it would be everywhere. Every right-winger would be putting forward actual evidence. And all they've had so far are lies and propaganda put out by misleading people. Like, I was talking to someone last night about this. They had this video from this right-wing propaganda site that was like, look, they weren't letting these Republicans in to view the votes being counted. And then when you actually looked into it, it turned out that there were actually Democrats and Republicans observing the vote count. And then outside, there were Democrats and Republicans who weren't being let in because of COVID restrictions. The room was already up to capacity. They're completely lying and fabricating evidence. They are making things up to try and convince the general public that there is some sort of fraud that there is no evidence for. This is a coup, people. It's a soft fucking coup. It's them, through their disinformation, trying to convince people to throw out legitimate votes. They don't give a shit about democracy. They care about winning. And if in order to win, they need to make your vote go away, your legitimate, legally cast vote, they will throw it in the trash so fast your head'll spin. They don't care. They do not care.
And that we need to take this to court so that we can get to the bottom of it, invalidate votes that are not valid, and actually count the votes that are real. And there's all kinds of fraud going on. Don't get me twisted. We're going to talk about that. But what do you think about that, Methods? Do you agree with me in this?
Yeah, I agree with you. And just to add to it, like if they're trying to drag this into the legal system and make it about that, pulling it away from the American people.
All the court cases so far, Michigan, for instance, they filed a lawsuit in Michigan and that got thrown out of court. You know why it got thrown out of court? For lack of evidence. There was another instance recently with one of these lawsuits where they went into the courtroom and the Trump campaign was alleging that they weren't being allowed into the counting room, poll watchers basically. And the judge asked, "Did you have people in the room?" And the Trump lawyer said, "We had a non-zero amount of people in the room." And the judge said, "Be clear with me. Did you have people in the room?" And they said, "Yes, we had people in the room." And the judge just responded, "Okay, what's your problem then?" They are making stuff up. They are literally making things up. People, this is serious. This isn't funny. It's not cute. Caesar is like standing right outside the fucking Rubicon. And I've used that analogy a lot in the past couple days, but that's because it's pertinent and it's important, okay? We are having a presidential candidate who lost by getting fewer votes, which is how it works in a democracy, and he is refusing to accept the results. Think about that. That's not normal. That's something that's never happened.
There's nothing funny about the
And this
tools
is
of
not
capitalism.
Al Gore and Bush. This is a completely different situation. And anyone who compares it is someone who has no idea what actually happened in the 2000 election. So don't let someone compare it to that, because it's not that. This is frustrating and it's scary. Catalina Gearbox with 20 bits. They will kill you on the 5th and say you died on the 2nd. Logarth with 50 bits. The die is cast. Jesus.
Because they poisoned the well of the voting system. We all see it.
You guys are poisoning the well of the legitimate election that we just had by trying to claim without evidence that there's some massive orchestrated voter fraud that there is, again, zero evidence of. In fact, there's evidence to the contrary. Guys, Mitch McConnell won his seat on the same ballots that you are claiming are fraud. The Senate remained in the hands of Republicans based off the same ballots you are claiming are fraud. Republicans gained seats in the House and Democrats lost them, like 9, based on the same ballots you are claiming are fraud. If Donald Trump being not elected and Joe Biden being elected is fraud, so are all the Senate seats, so are all the seats in the House. But not a single one of you idiots is actually saying anything about those races because you won them. Because this isn't about actually caring about some sort of illegitimacy involved. It's about the fact that you lost and you cannot accept that.
I'll see what's going on when the math doesn't add up. The whole 2 + 2 = 5. Like, then there's no, like, it has to go toward.
Okay, from now on, here's the rule. If someone's going to ask me if something is a bingo space, like correlation causation, in your message, explain what you're asking. Because if you just say correlation and causation, I don't know, what about what they're saying is correlation confused with causation? You gotta explain.
Towards the legal system to be handled. So Trump is still the president, even right now.
Yep.
Because it will be until the inauguration as far as it being passed over to Biden.
Yeah, that's how lame duck sessions work.
But we all saw what happened. We've seen the numbers, and after breaking it down, we know Trump won the election. Now it's just...
No, you do not know that. In fact, the evidence shows quite the opposite. Your feelings that you wish Donald Trump won the election is not evidence that he did so. What is wrong with these people?
the dogfight after the fact. So what do you do when it goes to the legal system? You let your legalese dogs go after him. You know, he's got a team of great bulldogs that are going to go out there and fight on his behalf, and he's still running this country. And you can kind of just see the writing on the wall here that there's more that's going to happen. And I'm not trying to give people like the hope porn idea, but there's a way that Trump can handle this situation correctly, as in he stays like focusing on his presidential duties right now, lets his legal team handle all this nonsense, and then focus on what else he needs to do. What if he brings another peace deal?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like something else can happen that, you know, that's being in the works right now. He could sign more EOs. He could do a bunch of stuff. But as of now, let them speak because they're in the legal world.
Exactly. It has to play out according to our laws as a country. Okay? We can't skip a step. We can't take any shortcuts. I know that we've been used to watching...
I was gonna say, what do you mean another peace deal? What fucking peace deal do you guys think Trump has put into place? Highly in DW, wow, even QAnoners want Trump to STFU. Yeah. Me mentioning that is not QAnon yet, by the way. Until they mention it, if they mention QAnon, that'll count. But me just mentioning that chat does not count.
Politicians and administrators do just that. Okay? But a major part of this movement is returning us to a country of law and order.
Catalina Gearbox, they're saying the mail-in votes were cheating because most of the votes were for Biden. Correlation isn't causing... That's not correlation. That's not what that means. That's not correlation causation. Like, there's no correlation between... There's not even a correlation between mail-in votes being for Biden and it being... You know what I mean? That they're just wrong. That's not correlation, isn't causation.
Okay? And in order to do that, we have to do it correctly. It has to be done correctly. Now,
no, this is not Dave and not Dave. They got banned from YouTube.
Sigma something in the chat asked, what's my YouTube? Bro, where you been? I got deleted off YouTube. I got deleted off Twitter. I got deleted off Discord. The reason you're watching on DLive or Twitch or Pill.net or Clout Hub or on my website, redpill78news.com. I would love it if you guys went there because I do blog posts every day. I post my videos there. All of my stuff is right there on the website. That's the only thing you need to remember. redpill78news.com. Now, getting back to the idea of law and order, we have to do it correctly, okay? Our country is effed up. It has been effed up for a long time. They have completely destroyed the rule of law and the order that was meant to be established by a variety of laws and statutes that have been in place for centuries now, okay? The United States has been around for a long time. What the Democrats want to do is to fundamentally change the very nature of our country. They want to institute a brand new system.
Oh no, making positive changes for the country? The horror. MMO addicted with 20 bits. Fun fact, one of Biden's dogs will be the first White House shelter dog. Also, let's move this to a more cleansy direction because I had a shit day. Anyone know if there was a White House cat before? I don't think there's been a cat, to my knowledge. I could be wrong, though.
They want continuous... absolute power for the Democrats. They want to invalidate our laws.
Again, the projection from these people going straight from talking about how they want Donald Trump to steal the election regardless of the fact that he lost, to claiming that the Democrats want ultimate power. It's ridiculous. If humanity survives like hundreds and hundreds of years into the future, I don't know how they look back at this and something like this and don't just lose their minds. Like, how do you deal with other people who are this brainwashed, who are this delusional, who are this out of touch with reality? I don't know. I don't know the answer.
They want to invalidate our system of checks and balances. They want to invalidate Republicans and conservatism. They want it to only be all of the power.
Jimmy Carter's daughter, Amy Carter, owned a Siamese cat named Misty Malarkey Yin Yang, who lived with her in the White House. That's a weird name for a cat. Okay.
In the hands of the Democrats. And by doing that, you've seen them cut a lot of corners. You've seen them break a lot of laws. Well, You
Like?
know, guys, that's not us. Okay? We're going to do it the right way. And I know maybe it's frustrating. People want to see action. They want to see it happening now. They want to see
Clinton
us
had a
fighting back
cat.
in the same way that the Dems have been fighting against us and what the cabal has done to us and our nation. But that's not going to happen. It's not going to, okay, it's not Democrat or Republican. It is worldwide, Ronnie Bear. You're right, okay? But right now we're talking about an election between Democrats and Republicans, okay? When you hear me say Democrats, think cabal, okay? Because I'm talking about the cabal. There are Democrats and Republicans, but right now,
That's definitely... we already had, like,
us and our
thinly veiled anti-Semitism, but that's definitely that.
nation. But that's not going to happen. It's not going to, okay, it's not Democrat or Republican. It is worldwide, Ronnie Bear. You're right, okay? But right now we're talking about an election between Democrats and Republicans, okay? When you hear me say Democrats, think the cabal is running the Democrat Party. President Trump is running the Republican Party. So that's where that distinction comes from, and I want everybody to understand exactly what...
Let me just put this out there again. They are pushing completely false conspiracy theories about, you know... Go report this video, please. There's a link in the chat.
What I mean. This is a global war, all right? But the United States is the front line. If the United States falls, the world falls. We have to bring the United States back into balance before we can fix anything else. Even though President Trump's doing a great job. He's had, a bunch of different peace deals and a bunch of great things have been happening. But to be more specific about when is the DOJ or when is the administration going to do something, we do have this report. Now, this is from Emerald Robinson. She's saying that she's hearing from a White House source that the Justice Department is claiming that regulations require them to wait 10 days before intervening in an election. Now, if they wait 10 days, then we'll know that that is the rule, and that's why they've waited long enough to do it.
What is the Justice Department going to do outside of completely illegal, disgusting fascist shit? There's no evidence of any sort of malfeasance on the part of anyone in the election. You can't... I'm telling you guys, with Barr involved in this shit, they're going to fucking manufacture evidence. I really, really think that's the case. They're going to make stuff up. It's going to be ridiculous.
Of course, if this was a Democrat-run administration, a cabal-run administration, then they would have already taken action, okay? They would have already shut stuff down, and President Trump, probably wouldn't end up being president. But this is an administration run by Donald John Trump. He is our president, and he respects the rule of law and order.
Bull fucking shit. He respects the rule of law. How many Hatch Act violations has he had? He still hasn't divested himself from his businesses. In fact, he's profiting from the presidency by taking golf trips at his own resorts. He has Secret Service members paying for their own places in Trump Tower, renting out space. Ridiculous.
And so therefore we have to stay and respect it as well, guys.
The House Republicans... What? Republicans seem a bit investigation shy these days, don't they? Well, as you might remember from this election season, that wasn't always the case. During Bill Clinton's administration, House Republicans even called for an inquiry into Socks, the first cat. Socks was a fairly normal cat, and by most accounts he seemed to be a good and cute boy. Adopted by Chelsea Clinton as a lost kitten, he enjoyed the things most cats do, catnip, which press photographers used to lure him closer to the White House lawn, skulking around the grounds and loathing his canine counterpart, Buddy the dog. So what's his crime? Indiana GOP Representative Burton Socks himself wasn't the issue. The issue was that constituents liked Socks so much, in fact, that they were sending him mail. Of course, since most of the letter writers were children, the White House would respond from Socks, and Burton wanted to know why taxpayers were fronting Socks postage. Oh my god. Republicans are such fucking trash. Cadaver Mouse, thanks for following.
Right, and if we want to say that Emerald's correct, and for anybody who wants to know, she works...
You don't think the legal team would make up evidence? Okay, I'm not talking about Giuliani, though, right now. Bill Barr and the fucking DOJ are gonna fabricate evidence, okay? And this is my tinfoil hat shit, guys. Feel free to disregard this if you don't believe me, but I'm telling you, do not assume that William Barr will not just make shit up.
for Newsmax, and we're all kind of becoming more and more fans of Newsmax right now with how the election's been handled. If that's the case...
Captain Rachel says it gets even better. The guy who complained about socks held a record for using the most amount of free government postage. Is there anything Republicans do that isn't absolute projection of the bad shit they do? Ridiculous.
And they're trying to follow the rule of law, and just like how what Red Pill just said, like we've been run by a bunch of morons that have been like jumping red tape and doing anything that helps their interest for a long time now. So we're used to certain things happening.
Postal worker admits fabricating allegations of ballot tampering, officials say. A Pennsylvania postal worker who claims have been cited by top Republicans as potential evidence of widespread voting irregularities admitted to U.S. Postal Service investigators that he fabricated the allegations, according to 3 people briefed on the investigation in a statement from a House congressional committee. Richard Hopkins claimed that a postmaster in Erie, Pennsylvania instructed postal workers to backdate ballots mailed after Election Day, which cited by Senator Lindsey Graham in a letter to the Department of Justice calling for a federal investigation. Attorney General William Barr subsequently authorized federal prosecutors to open probes into credible allegations of voting irregularities and fraud, a reversal of a long-standing Justice Department policy. But on Sunday, Hopkins told investigators from the U.S. Postal Service's Office of the Inspector General that the allegations were not true, and he signed an affidavit recanting his claims, according to the sources who spoke on the condition of anonymity to describe an ongoing investigation. Democrats on the House Oversight Committee tweeted late Tuesday that the whistleblower completely recanted. No shit. This is what I'm saying, guys. They're gonna get people to lie. They're gonna get people to fucking fabricate orders and evidence and stuff. It's gonna be bad.
Happening at a certain pace when it comes to cause and effect of they accuse them, whether they're guilty or not. If they want them locked up, they would do it. They'd find a way to do it. I'm not seeing any signs that Barr and them are just being completely complacent. They're not doing it. To me,
I'm gonna skip ahead to see where this goes.
They're following literally every 30 seconds, pump out a new anti-Trump meme and not say a word. And it was just like a machine that was just constantly putting these things out there. And that's where the narrative comes from. That's how they can make it look like an organic trending on Twitter. I'm not even allowed to see anything trending on Twitter anymore. It's literally gone.
Yeah, well,
There's nothing funny about the tools
I don't
of
see anything.
capitalism.
Okay, Travis, thanks for subscribing with Prime.
Look, this is nothing new, guys. I mean, we've been watching bot farms for years, you know.
We can, but when if they're too far? And they get too far to the point to where they're at the polling stations and they're literally defrauding an election.
Again, no evidence.
You know, we're talking about that right there. That would be treason, right? I mean, at the point you are destroying an election or attempting to. You're trying to sabotage. So, we can't have humans doing this. And I'm not trying to hand things over to Skynet, but I'm saying that we need to have, the voter ID to where we then have it registered through, whether it's on the blockchain or anything like that. We can't be having like people doing this because they're going to have one side or the other, and the whole world is now politically charged to the point of oblivion.
Yeah, apparently people cannot be nonpartisan. It's impossible. Possible, and they were allowing ballots to go through.
Okay, I'm done with these fucks. I'm so done. One more time, I'm going to implore you, please, if you are watching this, here is a link in the chat. Report this video to get it taken down. You cannot allow the narrative of widespread voter fraud, which of course there is no evidence for, as I've said many times. You cannot allow that narrative to continue to expand, because that's all it takes. That's all it takes. Anytime you see a video like this or a post like this, report that shit. Every single time. Every single time. You can't, because this is their plan to try and sow discord and basically throw a hand grenade into the U.S.'s confidence in its own elections. You can't do that. Anyway.